Welcome to Paradigm Shift TV 314. I'm your brother, Pianki Patamatulu Neferamon Ra. And today we just chopping it up with our brother, Trust and Believe the Gospel. Not going to be before you too long, just no particular subject. We just kind of having an open discussion, a Christian brother and a Kemetic brother. So before we jump into this convo, let me do my usual greeting. I want to say Hotep to my fellow Kemetic brothers and sisters. I want to say Shalom to my Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters. I want to say Islam to my Moorish brothers and sisters. I want to say Assalamu Alaikum to my brothers and sisters in the NOI and other Islamic beliefs. I want to say Jambo to the rest of my brothers and sisters throughout the African diaspora, whether here in the United States of America or beyond. I say that welcome for one reason and one reason only, is because if you are Black, I am with you, and I hope that you are with me. Our spiritual traditions and ideologies aside, we must unite as people. That said, my brother, introduce yourself again to the audience of Paradigm Shift TV 314.
How y'all doing to the people? I am Nobody, the host of the channel Trust and Believe the Gospel. I'm an ordained minister, as I think I mentioned in the previous video. I've been doing urban Christian apologetics for a long time, man, and I'm just here with the brother tonight to just dialogue, open discussion, open topic, and just see each other worldviews on certain topics and issues. And of course, I'm pro-Black all day. Outside of being pro-Black, I'm pro-truth for everybody, and I just wish peace and grace to everybody, no matter what color you are. And to my people, man, yeah, we got to do better, man. And I'm with that all day.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So yeah, our brother is gracing the platform. He's been on before, had a 2-on-2 dialogue with our brother Jerome Green, the Conscious Christian, against the phenom Kim Ra Nasu and the warrior scholar Metu Hotep Jallo. And he also has a debate, Christianity versus Kemetic spirituality, which is better for Black people, coming up this Sunday. So our brother has actually been blessing the platform quite a bit here lately. For those who are unfamiliar, what can you tell us about yourself before we kind of get into our dialogue? Because we never did you kind of jumped in feet first. We never did kind of introduce on the platform.
Yeah. Shoot, I'm of course, like everybody else, man, grew up in what I would call a Christian household, pretty much full of church goers or whatever, you know. I used to be a worldly rapper, man, for over 10 years. You know, I got a lot of past videos out. I've been on TV 3 times. I did numerous amount of shows. I doing 5 shows a week all across the state of Texas and things like that. I laid down my music career to follow Christ, you know, and around by 2008, coming back home from a show with Mr. Rag Daddy, me and one of the singers of the rap label that I was on at that time. He used to be a preacher when he was like real young or whatever. And of course, my family, we have churches and stuff like that my whole life, but I always kind of rebelled and just wanted to go do my own thing. I didn't really, care. I went to church. I wouldn't say I was a Christian. I was pretty much a church goer, like most people. And like I said, after that, me and one of my singers had sat down and we decided to, what are we doing with our life and, what's right and what's wrong. And we decided just to let go of all the perverted music and criminal-minded music and the stuff we was talking about. And he wanted to go pursue church. So we founded a church together in late 2008, early 2009. And since then, man, I got ordained around that time, and I just been pushing ever since, man. I found Christian apologetics, listening to a lot of really Sarnetta TV that I used to listen to way before I even became a Christian. And I just got sucked into it, man. I just used to hear, all kind of people twisting the Bible or twisting history of the Bible or even just twisting history in general. And it just made me feel like I probably need it in this community, especially on the side of Christians, because, we get a bad rep based off things that people do rather than what the Bible actually says, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, long story short, that brought me to Urban Christian Apologetics, man. I got my own security company thing where I'm doing private security, you know, to make the ends and stuff like that. And I'm just a regular person, man, you know, just trying to look out for truth and the best interest of people overall. But of course, if we're going to narrow it down to like a race war or something like that, I'm about my people all day. So, like I said at first, so that's pretty much long story short.
That's what's up. That's what's up. And yeah, that's, you know, me and the sister was talking. She, like I said, she a Muslim. I think I mentioned to you, and that's where I'm trying to get to a point where I'm basically trying to separate the belief from the people. In other words, we know what Europeans did to our ancestors. We know the role, or not necessarily the role, but we know how they twisted Christianity to help them do so. That doesn't necessarily make Christianity bad. That makes them bad.
Right.
They used it. Same thing with Islam. And so I'm trying to take the people and the way they behaved out of the belief, if that makes sense.
No, that makes total sense, bro. That's exactly what we should do. Like, for an example, I can use Crips and Bloods for an example. A person can walk up and say, "Hey, man, I'm a Crip," but he got on all red, and when he writes the word black, he spell it BACK rather than, you know, rather than ACC, because, you know, Crips spell double C. They don't put the CK on the end of it. But
Right.
all day we would look at that person and know, well, hey, this dude can't be no Crip, man. He ain't following the doctrine of Cripping. So when it comes to the Bible or Muslims or Kemet spirituality or anything, man, we can't judge the doctrine based off a person who claims to follow that doctrine. So yeah, what you said makes total sense. We should look at everything like that. You know what I'm saying?
Because I think that's where we sort of go wrong. We look at the behavior of a particular people and how they used a particular spiritual tradition, and we want to make that indicative of the tradition as opposed to being indicative of the people. And so,
Right.
like I said, I'm trying to get out of that myself, because I'm getting to a place where I know I'll never be a Christian again. But I know Christians. I have Christians that are family. I don't look at Christianity as a bad thing the way a lot of people in my tradition do.
Right.
And so, and I still have a lot of respect for the Black church. Now, I do challenge certain things about the doctrine and stuff like that, etc., as I do with Islam and the Hebrew Israelite doctrine and other doctrines. And I welcome challenges to the Kemetic tradition. It's just because I just think that's healthy, period.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about Black people, I'm not finna keep just knocking, oh, they stupid or they dumb crit. I'm not finna do all that. If it worked for them and they being a productive person, what am I? I'm not knocking. And that's just what.
And watch it, I'm starting to see that happening in the conscious community here recently, probably about the last 6 months or so, because I follow it real heavy. A lot of people are starting to get that way now, man, because, you know, as you already know too, in the beginning, we don't have no problem with Kemet or nobody or Hebrew Israelites and all that. If we really look at it, man, everybody called us out. I'm talking about that as Christians. Like, if a person wanted to leave Christianity and let's just say follow the Kemet spirituality, that's fine. But when a person leaves Christianity and want to follow something, to be like, well, Christians dumb, Christians stupid, Christians that's what we came out at. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people now feel like they being attacked when, if we go back to the beginning, people who left Christianity was attacking Christians. So we are the response to that. We're not the people who initiated it, if you see what I'm saying. So as I was saying, I do see a lot of brothers like you now who do follow the Kemetic spirituality, who are teaching other brothers, hey man, we got to stop all that, man. Because if we're gonna say we for Black people, then we got to be for all Black people. We can't be for a particular group and then not this group too. So I'm noticing that, man.
Yeah, because I think too, And I understand what brothers who attack the church and attack Islam. I understand where they're coming from because when I first stopped being a Christian, I had anger. Like I felt like I had been bamboozled. I felt like I had been hoodwinked. You know the whole motif. And so you go into I gotta debunk it. You go into let me challenge this. Let me challenge that. You go into that mode, and so and what you end up doing is you end up making a lot of I'm not gonna say enemies per se, but you start breeding a lot of negativity uh, with your family, with your friends, with the people in your life who still are Christians, and who, quite frankly, because they ensconced in that tradition, they are worried about you because if you're a Christian, that's the end all be all. So for a person to denounce that's very severe within the regards of the tradition. And so now you've already denounced it and now you challenging it. So now you definitely giving them cause to worry. And so I like I say, the last month or so, I've just come to the conclusion. I challenge everything. I challenge things in the Kemetic text just because I question, like I come from the Socrates school of philosophy. I question everything.
Right.
But and I'm gonna continue to do that. But as far as somebody want to be a Christian, I'm not questioning their intelligence. I'm not saying they stupid. I'm not doing none of that because especially if it worked for them. If it worked for them, fine. Now, if I see hypocritical behavior from anybody, Kemetic, Orishan, Ifa, Islam, if I see hypocritical behavior and you coming at me a particular way, of course I'm gonna call it out. But just to question somebody's intelligence based on their spiritual connotation, I'm not. That's. I think we passed that.
Right. And I'm glad. I'm glad it's getting to that point. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, I hate that it kind of took a pandemic for some people to see that. Regardless, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Because we need each other, man. And if people are actually serious about bringing Black people together and building a nation, or having banks and stores and all that, we got to do it just like the Freemasons do it, man. Some people feel like they run the world. When you go into the Freemason lodge, man, you could be. They want you to have a spirituality. First off, you can't be a Freemason without believing in at least one of the gods. So that shows you that they can still get their agenda across, and they can still see the next man as their brother, regardless of his faith. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad that Black people are starting to come around and see how the people on the higher levels actually work. If you do want to control something or take over something, you got to have that unity, man. Now I'm not trying to take over nothing, but for the people who are, for the people who do want to do that or who have plans to put that stuff in motion, I'm not going to tell them not to do it. I just want them to be smart about it, man. And if you pro Black, you can't discount, like you said, another group of people over whatever they believe if you actually got a serious plan on making your plan work. You know what I'm saying? So, can't be hypocritical.
Aristotle had a saying, we make war so that we can live in peace. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to make war, but I'm saying that if it come down to that, I'm not excluding Christians. I'm not excluding Muslims. I'm not excluding Israelites because I'm going to need all the help I can get to get through that situation. That brother who they just released the footage that got killed back in February, Ahmed Aubrey, I think it was his name.
I'm not for sure.
These white supremacists just pull up on him, cut him off, confront him, and kill him. Trayvon Martin all over again. Did it matter if he was Kemetic, if he was Christian, if he was Hebrew?
Right.
That didn't matter. He was murdered in cold blood by white supremacists because he was Black. So while we questioning spiritual motifs and ideologies, our people getting killed on the street with impunity because them people ain't did a day in jail. So, So it's good for
Because
educational purposes and edutainment purposes, but when we get down to the brass tacks, we got bigger things to worry about. So
that's right. Right, and you made a good point, man. When they pulled that brother out that car and did what they did to him, they didn't ask him was he Christian, was he Hebrew, was he Semitic. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, man, yeah, people should pick up on small things like that. Everything ain't in the book. Sometimes just logic, man. Sometimes just common sense. You know what I'm saying? And we can't lose our common sense to try to follow what another person said somewhere else in their era when we're not even living in that era, and we're living in our own era. Our era is unique to us. It's nothing like their era. You know what I'm saying? We may be still dealing with some leftovers from other eras, but we have to fight for what's going on with us right now. And for the people who are left behind, still trying to fight old battles and old wars, man, like they need to update themselves and get up and get their mind to the level that everybody else is on, not just black people, but I'm talking about as the world, like how we can see, like me, I stay in Texas, so we have a lot of Mexicans down here. This is pretty much little Mexico. Now, we'll see in the black neighborhoods, you know, it's shooting, fighting, dope dealing, stealing, all that all day. We'll see a group of Mexicans put together enough money, it'll be 8 of them staying in one house, bro. They'll buy that land, then they'll tear down that house, make another house, and then another house on that same property, bro. You know, I'm talking about they'll do it all themselves. They'll buy the cement, buy the grass, all that themselves. Us as black people, we could be staying in one apartment with 400 of us in one apartment, and what you see from people getting into it over stupid stuff. Hair, he stepped on my shoes. Oh, he got my sale. He got my $10 sale. Or whatever. Like, and it's like, man, everybody else can see it, but it's like we can't see it, man. And like you said, as long as they can keep us fighting amongst each other, they ain't got to worry about us. So we'll destroy each other before they can, faster than they could ever do it. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, if the people actually do want to make that move, man, yeah, they need to open their eyes, realize what's going on in 2020, man, because it's here and it ain't going nowhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I say this all the time, man. We have to really examine like our history and start trying to figure this thing out because, yeah, we are broken people. Yeah, we have our issues. Now, how did we get this way and how do we repair it? Them are the only questions we need to ask.
Right. Simple question.
We can complain about why we behind, why we divided, why we this and that. How did we get broken and how did we fix it? And it all go back to whether people want to understand this or not, because you get a lot of people who say, well, slavery don't affect me today. Well, I need you to explain that because last I checked, slavery wasn't even 200 years ago. And we only a few generations removed from that. And so if church, and not looking at it from a negative light, I'm looking at it from a positive light. Church, which is a positive thing, right? Spirituality. The black church in particular helped propel our people forward. If those values were handed down from generation to generation, you mean to tell me the light skin, dark skin thing wouldn't hand it down from generation to generation? The house Negro, field Negro thing wouldn't hand it down from generation to generation? All of those different elements, the Willie Lynch motif, whether you believe he was a real person or whether you believe that this was just an ideology that they put out there, those things weren't handed down from generation to generation. And so as we get up into the 20th century, Jim Crow, all of these different elements to the welfare system. I remember a brother broke this down. He talked about Nazi Germany experimenting with ghettos for the Jewish people before they initiated the Holocaust. And he said they would put mice. They got this idea from the United States, which is what's ironic. They would put mice in enclosed areas, these little small mazes with very little food. And they would see how long it would take for the mice to run out of food, i.e. resources, before they would start eating each other. Because it's only a matter of time, right?
Right.
So when you look at what they did to us after segregation ended, you put us in ghettos. You put us in projects. You put us in these enclosed areas. And then the drugs go into our neighborhoods strategically. The liquor stores go on our corners strategically. And so we high, we drunk, we killing each other. And so as the resources begin to run out, how long do it take before we start eating each other and tearing each other apart? I remember watching one of my favorite movies, The Godfather, and they started talking about how the mafia families decided to get into the drug trade. And one of them said, I don't want it near schools and I don't want it around kids. In my neighborhood, we'll give it to the coloreds. They're animals anyway, let them lose their souls. Now, what people miss about The Godfather is that it's actually based on the 5 families, or what they call the commission. Lucky Luciano and what he put together in New York. And so it's not a far-fetched notion that this actually was decided, right? And so you put it in Black neighborhoods. And so you have three elements. You have Black people who are desperate for some kind of release, some kind of relief. So you give them drugs. They're getting high. It's a liquor store on every corner. They're getting drunk. Now you introduce these poor Black kids who, in their mind, because it's not a reality, but in their mind, they have no other way to make a real income for their family. Their mama's working 3 jobs, their daddy ain't around, or he working 3 jobs. The only way they see where they can make some for real money is to sell the stuff that everybody getting high on. So you convince them to poison their own people so they can get rich. It don't matter that it's at the expense of the very lives of the people in their community, because they getting rich.
That money.
Now you start this vicious cycle. Now you've created an addict, you've created a dealer, and you've created an environment where you have multiple addicts and multiple dealers. Who they fighting over? The addicts, who are their customers. As they fighting over these customers, what that turned into? Violence. And so this was perpetuated purposely. And then as we continue on through time, we get up to the Reagan era, well, the Nixon era, and he starts a war on drugs, right? Drugs that he know is really a war on Blacks, because this is where the drugs are. This is where you've made sure the drugs are. Then Reagan ups the ante. Reagan takes the drugs that he wants to fund his Iran-Contra conflict, and he purposely says, you know what? We know they already dealing with the heroin issue and the alcohol issue, but let's throw a little cocaine in there because we need to fund this war. And where did he put it? He didn't put it in the white affluent neighborhoods. He put it in the poor Black neighborhoods. So this is a strategy. So you take one form of slavery and you switch it for another form of slavery. And so I'm not even into conspiracy theories. People get mad at me because, like, I'm not, like, the vaccination thing, I don't even buy into that kind of stuff. But this thing that I've just described, these are events that actually took place. Like, I lived through all this stuff. So you see it happen, and it's like, when are we gonna wake up from it? Like, these things were done to us. And so I want to be angry at my people for being in the state they in. I want to be pissed off at them for being in the state they in. I want to be mad at these women and these girls who conduct themselves like whores. I want to be mad at these men who treated them in such a way that they feel like that's how they should act. Or these men who wouldn't daddies to them. You understand? But I understand how they got to that mentality. And I just got to try to figure out how the hell do we fix them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, right. I mean, sure. I mean, I ain't no Hebrew Israelite or nothing like that, but you know, when they be like, come back to the laws, statutes, and commandments of God, to a certain instance, I'm saying, you know how when it's like, you know, don't be committing fornication. You know, husbands love your wives like Christ loved the church. You know, kids obey your parents. You know, parents be stand-up citizens, and it's like stuff like that. You know, we do need to hear and do need to promote, like you were saying. How could the values of the church at the time when it was broken off from segregation, you know that like if you stayed in a black neighborhood, teen pregnancy was looked down upon. Marriage, if you was with somebody and you wasn't married, that was frowned upon. You know what I'm saying? Like it was frowned upon for grandmama, granddaddy, and them. They didn't keep their marriage together. You know what I'm saying? Like, and stuff like that. You know, it was a generation of people who took their vows seriously, or probably did understand society more than we do today. And like you said, based off of that society, they had to feed them the crack. I'm not saying that was right for it, but I'm saying they had to feed them the crack epidemic. They had to knock down Black Wall Street. They saw black people owning their own businesses, living out pretty much what the Bible was saying inside the New Testament when it talks about people living in their community, putting their money together, making sure, you know, everybody have, you know what I'm saying, give me to your brother, blah, 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 because I ain't trying to preach to you. But you know what I'm saying on that script. So people was actually doing that, and they built the Black Wall Streets, and they was doing things like that, and they was coming up in the world. And like you said, then it comes down to presidential order for them to push drugs inside the neighborhood and they knocked down Black Wall Street because they knew that if they just left us to ourselves, we was going to do it. We was already doing it. You see what I'm saying? And the good thing that I like about slaves right after slavery had ended is because when we read a lot of their stuff, a lot of them wasn't worried about white people. They was happy that they was free. They wanted to go get their own land. They wanted to go do their own stuff. They did build their own communities. They did have their own stores. They did have their own banks. They did have their own way of life. You see what I'm saying? They was out there doing it. And then, like you said, crack epidemic hit, knocked everybody down, including my parents. I'm big on the 80s and the 70s because that's when I was born. You know, both of my parents was on crack sometime. You know what I'm saying? So I felt it. You know what I'm saying? I lived through it. You know what I'm saying? So I saw my mama, who went to college for 4 years, got a degree, did all that. You know what I'm saying? Got grown and on her own, and drugs to her apart. I saw my daddy, military man, strong, built, looking like a black Superman out here, you know what I'm saying, driving trucks and doing his thing. We was on, man, and I saw when they got on that crack and how my family just broke up. You know what I'm saying? I saw my mama go her own way. I saw my daddy go his own way. So I've researched the things, like you said, that the government was doing and how things got a certain way. But when I looked at my parents, even though the government did do that, when I looked at my parents and what my parents was, I'm like, how could y'all foster? Did nobody make you pick up no crack pipe? My grandmother and them taught y'all to stay in school. My grandmother and them taught y'all the Bible. My grandmother and them taught y'all to go out here and make some of y'all stuff. I don't care what the government did about pushing drugs in the neighborhood. Didn't nobody put a crack pipe in your hand and make you smoke it. Didn't nobody make my family break up over no drugs because somebody told them they had to do it. My mom and dad did that shit on their own, bro. You know what I'm saying? And that stuff, man, like, it ain't even cool with me. I'm not mad at my mom and dad because I can look at like, oh, you know, the government did pump it in the area, and I can understand how people can get influenced. You know what I'm saying? I used to smoke weed, bro, get drunk. I lived the rapper lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? Have orgies, all that stuff, bro. You know what I'm saying? But didn't nobody make me do it. I don't care what a person's plan was or what their scheme was, man. Nobody made me sell drugs, bro. Nobody made me pick up something and smoke it. Nobody made my parents do that, man. So if they did have the morality stored inside of them from, it didn't even have to be the Bible, but I'm going to say the Bible. If my grandmother never was into Kemet spirituality, 42 laws of Maya, it could have been that. It could have been the Quran, whatever. If they would have taken values that was taught them and stayed on them values rather than trying to live what they living for inside the world, man, I feel like it wouldn't even be the way it was, not just for my family, but for most families and most kids like me who grew up in the 80s who families were broke apart because of that crack epidemic. But it got flipped on them too, though, because you know that other races follow black people. You know what I'm saying? So they saw us in videos and stuff like that, you know, smoking and drinking and doing all that. Now look at white America today. They have the #1 opioid pandemic crisis.
Epidemic.
Period, man.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying?
It's an epidemic when it affect them, but when it affected
yeah,
us,
right,
you
right.
know.
You see what I'm saying? It's because that's what they don't get. Like, for example, when we came out with rap and stuff, our rap was always talking about politics or political views or, you know, stuff in the hood on how to get over. What they do, they instead of letting you be popular on your own street corner and reach your own neighborhoods or just how you gonna get, what they do, they create the rap industry. You know what I'm saying? Start telling you, okay, well, you got to say it like this. You got to dress like this. You got to do it like that. When rap was first invented, it had nothing to do with none of the stuff that we hear talking about today. It had nothing to do with none of the stuff that I was talking about in my music. You know what I'm saying? But they took it and flipped it, and then now they looked at they white kids and they white sons and daughters, and now they got gold teeth and braids in their hair, and they sagging, and they want to, you know what I'm saying? So I don't want to say it really don't matter, but I'm going to say it this way. As much as they try to beat us down as a people, man, we always rise up, man, and we always influence their future generation. You see what I'm saying? Always. You see what I'm saying?
We push the culture of the world forward.
Yeah, right.
Right. Whether it's music, whether it's whatever, we push it forward. Always will. Like I laugh when people say Elvis Presley is the king of rock and roll.
Yeah, we know Little Richard was killing them boys.
Yeah, it Elvis Presley is the king of rock and roll when we know they invented Elvis Presley because they got tired of seeing their daughters cream looking at Chuck Berry. That's a fact. So,
right.
So we understand how they operate. And the only thing I say in defense of your parents, and I don't know your parents, but my father dealt with the same issues they dealt with, and he came out of it. But
yeah, my daddy came out, man, but shit, my mama's still in him, man. And I don't even know if I want you to edit that part out, man. But I'm just being 100 with you, though.
You know? Yeah, I get it, man. Like it's one of them things where, you know, we want the best for them, and I ain't gonna say nothing further on that about that, but I say this. We understand as kids, and even when we get to adulthood, because we at a particular place where we would never do a certain thing.
Right.
Pressure of life sometimes gets a hold of people in a way that we'll never understand because it didn't hit us like that.
Yeah, it happened to you.
And I'm not making excuses. that's just what
it
is.
No. That's real. No.
My father, like,
that's real talk, bro. That's fact. That's the reason why. That's why I'm not mad at my mom and my dad, bro. Because I can know the story. I can know what happened, but I can't tell them what was going on in their head at that time when they first picked up that stuff. So you're right, man. I don't live their life. You know what I'm saying? So you're right.
And it's a powerful thing that you don't hold that against her or them, because a lot of people would. You know what I mean?
And if I could be honest with you for a second, bro, I don't do that because of myself, bro. I got brothers, you know, who still mad, you know, who don't visit, who don't come around, who don't do none of that. Honestly, the reason why I do forgive them and I'm through with it and I go around and hang around, honestly, bro, because of Christ, bro. Christ tells us to forgive everybody, man. And if I can't forgive my parents, bro, how can I forgive you? If you were to do something bad to me and I say I forgive you, bro, for doing that, how can I forgive you and not forgive my own parents? And I don't even know you like that. I knew my parents were the first. My parents were the first people I knew before I knew what people were. So if I can't forgive them, then I shouldn't be able to forgive nobody. I don't care what they did. Now it can get to a point to where I don't have to be around them, but I'm gonna always forgive my parents, bro. I don't care what they do. They can do the most utmost thing to me. I'm always forgive. You know what I'm saying? That don't mean I got to be around them, but I'm always forgive my. And I'm gonna forgive other people now. I can't say I'm gonna forgive everybody to the same extent as I forgive my parents, that I am human. You know, I do get turned up like us males do with certain situations and stuff like that. But I can forgive anybody for pretty much anything, man. You know, because I know it's bigger. It's bigger than this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's real talk. You know, me and my mother went on drugs, but we had a very tumultuous relationship, and it took my grandmother passing. My grandmother pretty much raised me my grandmother was like my mother more like my sister. But I held a lot of stuff against her for a long time. And then when my grandmother passed, my grandmother she flat out just told me, let that stuff go with your mom. And when I say I let it go, I let it go. Like me and my mother good. If she need anything, I'm there. Like when she bring certain things up, you ain't gotta worry about that. I'm good now. All your kids good. You ain't even gotta make mistakes. We good. Ain't nothing for you to even beat yourself, because you gotta let that go. And sometimes they need that absolution for themselves, So yeah, I feel you on that. But now that we're done with the kumbaya, let's get into our disagreements over this Bible.
All right.
Now we was talking earlier about the Bible and slavery, and you feel we know about the slave Bible and how they edited out certain scriptures as to not inspire slaves to revolt, run away, etc. And it's your position that they did this because they felt like had they revealed the real Bible and the true form of Christianity, there would have been way more uprisings, way more sort of inspiration for freedom, probably more runaways than there were, etc. My position is the Bible isn't necessarily, especially when we start getting into the Christian doctrine, isn't what I would call a book, regardless of forget about the slave Bible, I'm talking about the Bible proper, that inspires a slave to want to be free when we consider some of the scriptures that talk about slavery. So I'm gonna let you give your spiel, and then I give mine, and we can kind of shoot back and forth. Go for about 5 minutes. I'm not really timing it, but if we're gonna go back and forth, we'll try to keep it to where we can, a decent time anyway.
Right. Yeah, I just reiterate what had pretty much happened. Yeah, I had posted that meme of the Boondock saying that if why were slaves forbidden to read the Bible? If the slave master wanted them to read it, or something like that. It was saying. And you had commented on there, and like you said, you was talking about you don't see in the Bible where it would make them rebel. And I wasn't pretty much saying that in the Bible it would make them rebel. What I was saying was that based off of what the slave masters were feeding them, when they did get a hold of the real Bible, they would rebel because they would be upset. They would see like, dang, this ain't even what it's teaching. You see what I'm saying? That's what I was saying about the rebellion part.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But there are scriptures in the Bible that talk about slaves running away and what a slave master should do if a slave run away and stuff like that. So, like, for example, Deuteronomy 23, it says, do not return a slave to his master when he escapes from his master to you. Let him live among you wherever he wants, within your city gates. Do not mistreat him. Now, you think that if they would have let them get a hold of this, now I can name others, it's just one scripture. You think that they would have got a hold of this one scripture, that they would have been like, oh, huh? If I run away, and these people here say, these white people say they believe the Bible. And this scripture right here say, if I run away, even if I run to another white person, let's just give that narrative. Even if I run to another white person, and he a slave owner, if this dude believe in the Bible, he is to let me live among him. He not even supposed to return me back to my slave master. I should be able to live among him wherever I want to live, and he can't even mistreat me. Now, you think that they would have been able to get their hands on just this one scripture, bro? Come on, man. That's now it was more than just a few scriptures they cut out, bro. They pretty much took out all the Bible, bro. Like pretty much all of it. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you, and I understand what you're saying. The thing is, where this is why people say the Bible contradicts itself, and I know you don't believe that, but this is why I say that, because now you saying that the Bible can be used to spark a mind to want to be liberated, when at the same time it's saying slaves obey your master, and I'm paraphrasing,
Right.
even those that are harsh.
Right.
And so that's, if a slave reading that, they not thinking freedom. They thinking I should do what my master say. Now this is
I totally agree. And that will be one of the verses they read. That is one of the verses that's inside of the slave Bible. That's one they kept in there.
Right.
But see,
here's why it's more potent though, and this is why I say it, because we know about the Exodus in the Old Testament. That scripture that I just mentioned,
right,
and others, those are in the New Testament. Like this coming from Jesus,
right,
this coming from Paul, this coming from the disciples.
Right.
So even do it not hold more weight?
Well, because I would agree that the New Testament holds more weight than the Old Testament. Yeah, it does. Yeah. Okay. Now let me explain it. Okay. Now, first off, we got to see that if those white people in America who kept us in slavery, if they were actually studying and showed ourselves approved, which we know they would, if they were actually being taught the true message of God, or even if they was reading it for themselves, because I can't account for which Bible each individual was actually reading at that time. You know, I don't even know if the white people just had the slave Bible. You know what I'm saying? Didn't have the other Bible. But let's just say the slave master did have the real Bible, and they only gave the message of the slave Bible to the slaves. Now watch this. When we read those slave verses in the Old Testament or even in the New Testament, it starts off with Hebrew Israelites, if you are going to have slaves. So this is a script for ancient Hebrew, which we know in the ancient world. So if I'm saying this to say, if a white person was actually believing in God and they know the Bible and all that, all these scriptures in the Old Testament that's talking about slavery, they would have first off knew that this was talking to the Hebrews and not them. They would have knew that in the ancient world, which we know had slavery was common, but it wasn't chattel slavery. We all know that from Egypt to the Canaanites, to Persia, to China. Everybody had slaves, but it wasn't it wasn't like what happened in America. Everybody agrees that what happened in America was phenomenal. They had never seen slavery like that. You know what I'm saying? That was unique to slavery. So anyway, those slave masters would have known that first off, they weren't talking to them. So they would have never should have even had the instinct to have slaves in that manner, because they weren't talking to them. Now, when you get to the New Testament, how you were saying that it was that it's more relevant, which I agree to. The New Testament was talking to the people who were in the slave trade that was mentioned of the Old Testament. So I'm saying this is the same period. So let's say Paul or whatever, Paul to write to the church of Corinthians and for the people who were slaves over there, he would write to a certain Jewish sect. These people were already in slavery under, if it was Roman captivity, it was Roman captivity at that time. They were already in slavery. So he was writing to them, telling them to, keep your chin up, you know what I'm saying? You're going to get out of this and stuff like that. Now, when it comes to slave masters treating people harshly, and those, of course, people are human. Even though a Hebrew Israelite can have the Bible, he can see what God said on how to treat slaves, because the Bible specifically says, don't treat them harshly, treat them nicely, treat them fairly. It specifically says that. But some people are human, well, everybody's human. You have people who would have rightful, they would be legitimate in owning that slave, but they could be treating that slave harshly, man. So Paul or somebody would write encouragingly to somebody who may have a slave master that's harsh, and they're like, man, keep your chin up, man. Don't let that get you down. He was encouraging those people at that time. But still, the white people who would use that scripture, they were still using it out of context because that scripture wasn't talking to them, neither was it talking to the black people who they had in captivity. That was Paul writing to the people in Corinth who were in captivity at that time under the Hebrew way of keeping slaves, not under the way that they kept slaves, if you get what I'm saying. Hello? Hello?
My bad.
Okay. I thought it hung up.
Yeah, I was muted. My bad. I'm gonna say this, my brother. You are skilled at this. You are skilled. I hope I gotta make sure Kimra see this before the debate because you are skilled. I'm gonna let you know that. I respect this.
I appreciate it, man.
Skilled at what you do and at your doctrine. That's a fact.
And I can only feel that way, bro, because I have a message like yours, man. I left Christianity, man, for a minute, man. The first person I got a hold to was Dick Gregory, and Dick Gregory led me to Dr. Ray Higgins, and I got on that for a minute, man, and I told my wife, like, we ain't going to church no more. I don't know who God is. I told my wife, I don't know who God is, but whoever God is, we know that stealing wrong, killing wrong, lying wrong, so we just going to not do that stuff, man, and whoever God is, after we die, he can't be mad at us for that. You know what I'm saying? So I left for a while, man, you know what I'm saying? And then, started getting into that, and then from that, I got into Black Hebrew Israelism, you know what I'm saying? And then from that, led me back to the church. Now, I can give you details about all that stuff, man. It was just kind of how you said, man, it was just some of the people I was listening to when I actually went to go look up some of the stuff they were saying, even though I feel like some of them was probably genuine. It was lies, bro, or it was wrong. Now, they may not know that it was a lie, or they could have known it was a lie, and they just feeding it to me. So I left all that stuff, man, because even though I grew up as a church goer, like I said, I wasn't studying the Bible or none of that. I go to church, hear what the pastor said, because, that's just what we did. You know what I'm saying? Going back to go do whatever I did. I'm at the club on Saturday, at the church on Sunday type dude, you know what I'm saying? But then once I just went to go look up a lot of the stuff that they were saying while I was a part of those organizations, I'm starting to see lies, I'm starting to see holes. So I'm like, what am I missing inside the Christian doctrine? Let me go see what I'm missing inside this thing. So, and that's what led me on my journey, man. And once I just want to go, and long story short, seeing the lies that people were saying about the Bible is what led me back to the Bible. That's what I'm trying to say. And it's just crazy that it's like that, man. And I appreciate you for saying that I'm on it. Because I just read the scriptures for what they is, man. I mean, and I go study the time. And if I can say this real quick, it's like this, bro. It's like, researching for me is like this. Let's say 2,000 years from now, after you and I gone, and I send you a text or something, and the text say, I'm about to hop in the whip with my bro, and we about to be in some comments. Now you and I know that the LGBT community is taking over right now, so we can imagine the world in 2,000 years. Now let's say 2,000 years from now, somebody reads that text, and it's all, and they just see a gay. Oh man, he about to hop in the whip with his man and being some counters. He got to be talking about Miracle Whip. He said it's his man, so they show you that he's gay, and he about to be in this counter. Man, this dude gay. Now, if that person would pick up a book and look up 2020 slang words, and they look up, okay, well, whip means car. My man can be used as a friend, a homeboy, and then they see Ben Encounters mean, okay, cruising through the neighborhood. Now, when they put that sentence together, it says, oh, I'm about to hop in the car with my homeboy, about to ride through the neighborhood. You see what I'm saying? So I feel like when people do their research, they don't look up the culture. They don't look up what was said. They don't look up how people think, how people thought at that time. And then when they read the Bible, especially the Old Testament, when they read the Bible, they're not looking at it from their time frame. They're looking at it from a 2020 or a Midwestern, up-to-date, modern mind frame. And when we do that, we can find all kind of errors. Not just non-believers, man. Believe me, bro. I go to war with pastors. I go to war with Seventh-day Adventists. I go to war with Black Hebrew Israelites. Like, people just twist the scripture, bro. You see what I'm saying? And for whatever reason, the majority of the time, it's because they're not looking at it through the lens of the person who wrote it or the time period it was written. They're looking at it through what they're going through right now and what they can fathom off their experience. If that makes sense to you.
Let me ask you, because well, let me say this, because now that was even better than what you demonstrated at first. That was, like I said, you definitely on top of your game, because that was a nice analogy, and I appreciate that. So
Thank you, man.
this is what I would say to that. Like, some things I get or left to interpretation. Some things need to be rightfully divided, etc. Right?
Right.
And then some things just, they are what they are.
Right.
And so, to me, I don't know about you, when it says slave, obey your master. So this, and I guess to put it plainly, when we talking about
Right.
omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent. So
right.
what do we mean?
To know everything.
All knowing,
Right.
everywhere at the same time, and all powerful, right?
Right.
So why not just say from the jump, let's not give instructions on how to have slaves. Let's just not have slaves.
Right. And I've answered that question. Yeah, I get you. I've answered that question many a times as well. But
in our culture, because what's really bugged out about it, if you believe the narrative. Now, of course, I don't believe that the Exodus narrative. Having studied history, studied Kemet, being a student of history, and I don't see any evidence for Exodus. But if you believe the narrative, they just had came out of slavery.
Right.
And now you're allowing them to have slaves. And I get that slavery was a world, it was just part of the world culture.
That's it. Yeah, that's the whole thing, man.
Africa, I'm talking about, it was all over the continent of Africa. Like, so we don't even have to, one thing, I'm not one of these people who deny it was slavery in Africa. You ain't gonna get that.
I'm glad to know that.
For me. Now, what I do put into context is, because I see a lot of brothers, I don't know if you're one of them, well, it was slavery in Africa, and they leave it at that. Well, Africans had Africans as slaves. No, let's be specific. Just like we're specific with Europeans, let's be specific with Africans.
Right. I agree, yeah.
Europeans had Europeans as slaves. See, we give them the respect of saying Rome enslaved Gaul. Rome enslaved Thrace. Rome enslaved
everybody, man, if you look at it.
Rome enslaved Britannica. So let's say the Zulus enslaved the Fulanis. Let's say the Fulanis enslaved the Ifas or the Igbos. Let's give them the respect of letting everybody know that these were different people who considered themselves different, had different cultures,
right. Thank you.
Folk race, and all of that. And so let's not do this Africans enslaved Africans things as if it was like a broad spectrum. They were just like the Greeks and the Romans were different from the Thracians and the Britannians and the Germanicas and all of that.
I feel I'm not one of them Christians either. I'm not one of them. Now, if you were one of those type of brothers, I would come at you in the way that you just described. But since I see that you're not one of them brothers now, I'm not like that either. Man, my daughter was just having that conversation today. We sitting up here watching wrestling. That's why I told you I couldn't have the conversation with you earlier, because me and my daughter watch wrestling on Mondays.
I was watching. Let me ask you, was you watching NXT or AEW?
Huh? I watch both, bro. I watch both. I gotta watch AEW. I gotta watch AEW when I get off the phone with you, but I was watching NXT first.
Okay.
NXT come first, yeah, W first. But no, I was saying that to say, Io Shirai had came out, and I was explaining to my daughter that how Io Shirai is Japanese, and I was explaining to her how Asuka is Chinese, and I was explaining to her how when they go to when her and my wife go to the nail shop, those people who doing their nails is Vietnamese. I said, now, baby, walk up to a Chinese and call them Japanese, and walk up to a Vietnamese and call them Chinese. They gonna go off on you. She started laughing. I said, I can't see how there are black people out here who just claim all of Africa when if you walk up to a Jamaican and call him a certain African name, he gonna tell you I ain't that. If you walk there, you know what I'm saying? I was explaining that to her as in what you just said earlier. But back to the point.
We give all these other people the respect of the separation. Like, we know they're European, but
right. I don't want to get off the slavery topic that you had going though. I want to stay on that too.
But yeah, so that's but part of my point was we give them the same, we give them that respect. Let's give Africa the same respect. But
right, and I tell you.
But yeah, but with regards to slavery.
And God letting them have slaves. You were saying how God was letting them have slaves, and why wouldn't God just tell them not to have slaves? Right.
That was just a phenomenon around the world. Like that was just part of the world culture. But for these people who had just come out of slavery, and you believe the narrative, and were treated with rigor, if you believe the narrative, why would they even want to do that to another people?
Right,
and
right.
Now, this is what instruct them on how to do it. So you see what I'm saying?
Like, no, I get you.
That's where the narrative sort of.
Let me answer you on that.
It kind of.
Let me answer you on that.
I'm looking at it like, wait a minute now, hold on, because it's like it almost go back to like the when you hear kids say, and I'm going to an extreme scenario. Just to FYI, when you hear a kid that been touched, you ask them why they touched somebody, and they say, because somebody touched me. Wait a minute. Something horrible happened to you. You turned around and did something horrible to somebody else?
Yeah.
No,
I got where you're coming from. I wasn't answering.
These people was being guided by God.
Right.
That's what kind of, hold on.
Okay, let me answer it for you. Let me answer it for you. Okay. Now, you said that when you look at African slavery and European slavery and Asian slavery and all that, you can, understand why they did what they did. So you and I should understand that slave trading back then was economic. It was a city building. You know what I'm saying? It was community keeping. That was the way of life back then. It wasn't like slavery, as we already know. It wasn't like slavery in America. So it wasn't like, hey, let me kidnap you, you my slave. This was commodity. This was luxury. You know what I'm saying? This was a way for people to pay their debt. This was a way for people to feed their family. It wasn't like you could go online and fill out a job application and go get a job. The kings and the people who were in power, that was the job. If you could go over here and sell yourself to your to your brother or to your neighbor or to somebody with money so that you could do what you needed to do to make sure your family eat, that's why it was a way of life. Now, when it comes to God, when it comes to the Israelites coming out of slavery, this is why God gave them those rules. Now, slavery being the way of life back then, God gave them those rules because if you knew the rules of the other people, God's rules was pretty much telling his people, don't treat people how y'all was treated and when y'all was going through this. Because even though the Egyptians had slaves and Canaanites and everybody else, God wasn't faulting them for having slaves. You don't see one time where God was like, well, hey, because you have slaves, I'm mad at you. It's how you treat these people. You see what I'm saying? So let's say if the Bible was written today, let's say if, me and you, Moses and Pharaoh and all that or whatever, and let's say God would be like, okay, yeah, even though we put in the application and we choose to work at this job, if our boss decides to come to this job one day and just be cranky and want to do whatever he want to do to us, and we didn't have no legal right or representation or no union for us to be like, well, hey, man, you're treating us wrong, man. You don't need to be doing us like that. Then he could do whatever he wanted to do. If you look at the stuff that God told the Israelites to do, bro, it said that if you hit a slave and a slave lose a tooth, you have to let that slave go. You have to pay that slave and pretty much build that slave a whole house with land and all that for his family, bro. A tooth? Now, show show me the white people in the brand. They was hanging us. They were knocking out more than seats, man.
Bro, now,
It was a different way.
Not to cut your wisdom, but it also say you can beat them, and you can pretty much beat them to the point of death as long as they don't die.
They don't die. Right. But watch this. It says, right, you're right. It does say that. It says that right after giving the slaves a commandment on how not to treat your slave harshly, though. So, in other words,
this is why I say if we dealing with a righteous, quote unquote righteous God, why these are your people? Why have them deal in this sort of thing anyway?
Okay, watch this. Okay, watch. Wait. I got you. Look.
It say don't be like all of these other people.
Yeah. In the evil way, though, bro. Watch this. Look.
Slavery, not evil.
Wait. This is what I'm trying to get you to understand. If that was the way of life back then, and God was trying to build a nation of people, if slavery and other trade policies was their way of life, how could they build their nation without doing what everybody else was doing, bro? That's why I keep saying that was the way of life, bro.
They had God on their side, bro.
I mean, yeah, but God wasn't.
Don't he make a way out of no way?
Yeah. God can make a way out of no way.
So they didn't need to do what all these other people did.
Yeah, but still, God is still operating in the time of what was going on, bro. He wasn't about to make them fly on magic carpets and have pink elephants falling from the sky, bro. He was building. No, wait.
If God crossed the Red
Sea. If God chose to do that, yes. Now, I'm not saying God couldn't have did that. I'm not saying that.
Manna from heaven. He was already doing that type of stuff.
Who?
God. They crossed the Red Sea. He gave manna from heaven.
What?
Like that, they was already on the magic carpet ride. That
I mean, no, right. I agree. I'm not saying that there wasn't any miracles that God didn't do for them. I'm totally not saying that. I believe in supernatural things. What I'm saying is, he wasn't obligated to give them a magic carpet or a purple elephant falling out the sky as they're trying to build a nation among the nations that was going on at that time. It still has to work inside the realm of life, bro. You know what I'm saying? It still has to work inside the realm of what was going on. Now, I agree with you. If slavery in ancient days was exactly how we look at slavery today, now, this is why some other nations can read the Bible and get it in its context and some black folks can't. Because when we think about owning somebody, we're looking at it from a way of like, oh man, this person could have went out here and did this and did that and left this. In the ancient days, bro, even if we took the Bible outside of it, and y'all study kingdom spirituality, so I truly expect y'all to get this. Servitude was not what people think slavery is in America, bro. Like I said, it was many ways to become a slave. So when we're reading the verses about slaves that was like prisoners of war. Now let's say a person was captured in another army or something like that, and he was in jail for life. You could sell that person. That person, if you were to sell that person to a Hebrew, that person would still be a slave for life. So then you see scriptures where it's talking about bond service and bond maid and things like that. When we look at ancient civilization, even if we let's just take the Bible totally out of it, bro. When we look at ancient civilization, the people who were slaves or what was called servants, they were living better than the people who were peasants, bro. This was a way of life. The slave masters back then wasn't like waking up every day and, oh, I'm mad, let me go beat somebody. If they hurt a slave, they was losing their money, bro.
Let me say this. So it was different types of slaves.
Right, yeah, we do types of slaves, yeah.
You had the bond servants, you had the indentured servants or as you call them, but then you also had what they called what would be considered chattel slavery. Like you had that. So that's my point. And that was with the Israelites as well as these other cultures.
No, hold up. But watch this though. Scholars would say that the term indentured servitude didn't come on the scene until the Hebrews, bro. The rules that God laid down was obviously less harsher than the rules that were already going around. So when you ask,
I've never heard of
no, wait. So when you ask why would God give them those rules, it's because when they was entrapped in other people's civilizations, God was telling them, don't be like that person, do it this way. Now, when it comes to the verse that you brought up about beating your slaves until you die and stuff like that, when you read Bible commentary and when you read Jewish commentary, there were people who would sell themselves into slavery, or there were people who was prisoners of war, and they didn't want to work. Or, they would have a job to do and they would be lazy, or they would be combative. They would give the slave master a hard time. Now, let me tell you this. If you own a company, and it's your company, and this person owes you, and now I'm not talking about in like today where we got laws and all that. Let's go for the laws that was going on back then around the world. You own a company. This person is in debt to you or in service to you or whatever. This person is not doing their job. Or this person want to get in your face. I'm talking about you, brother. He want to get in your face and tell you, I ain't doing nothing. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. I don't care if I owe you. What you going to do? Just walk off and go in the house? No. You're going to make this dude get up, get out here and do your job, bro. So that's what it was talking about when it was telling them, that it was talking about those type of people when we read Bible commentary and ancient Jewish commentary on the people that it was referring to, where if you had to lay your hands on them, you was going to be all right as long as you didn't kill them. Because it also says that if you kill one of your slaves, you were to be killed. Have you not read that verse in the Bible? It also says that you cannot kidnap a person and make them your slave. So they let you know that those people that the Israelites had were either people who sold themselves into slavery or people who were in slavery from other nations, bro.
Now check it out. Now, again.
But did you get what did you get what I said, though?
I got you. But remember,
okay.
Some of these rules that you're talking about were only regarding other Israelites.
No. It was regarding how you talking about like beat people up. That was regarding the other nations. Yeah, that was totally for Israelites better, pretty much. Yeah. Right.
So I'm with you. Like I'm not gonna say definitively right now. Like I'm not gonna argue. Like I believe you know what you're talking about. I'm not gonna try to go back and forth with you on that.
But you're right, though, bro. You're right. On that part when you was like, they did have certain rules where if you had a brother that was your slave, let's say I own a company and you my brother, and let's say I would God is God or whatever. Of course, God is gonna tell me, hey man, don't treat a brother like that, man. That's your brother. Now he may owe you. Make sure he pay off his debt, but don't treat him like the Mexicans over here, man. Now hold up. But that's not God at the same time saying treat him, with a red carpet and fluffy pillows and give these other dudes a German suplex. God is still telling us to treat. God is still telling me to treat these other slaves fairly, though. You know what I'm saying? It's just that I got to let my Hebrew brother go after 6 years. I can keep his other slaves for more than 6 years.
So now let me ask you this. So can we say that God don't have a problem with slavery then?
Yeah, God don't have a problem with the biblical slavery and the way that it was instituted as a civilization, cultural, economic way of life back then. No, he don't have a problem with that. He has a problem with child slavery.
So, because now you see how specifically you broke that down. How can you definitively break it down from that? Like, do he have a problem with slavery? Yes or no? I get the adjectives, but does God have a problem with slavery? Yes or no?
I have to answer no. Not with the way the ancient slavery system was set up. No, he don't have a problem with that.
I'm talking about slavery, period.
I mean, but it's different slavery, as you already alluded to earlier. It's different type of slavery, bro. So I can't just say yes. God agreed to slavery, and somebody can take that as chattel slavery and be like, well, man, God was okay with chattel slavery then. Nah, he ain't cool with that.
Let me be specific then. Does God have a problem with chattel slavery? And if he do,
Yes. Yes.
in scripture, how do you know he got a problem with chattel slavery?
Because of the rules that he gave the Israelites as to how not to treat people and what the definition of chattel slavery is. When we look up what it is, God will fix every last one of those.
And so now that leads me to my next question. If God had a problem with chattel slavery, why did he allow it to take place in the first place?
Because God is not obligated to put himself in the middle of everything that happened on earth. People have to have a reason to be judged by God on the last day. If everything on the earth was going to just go smoothly as it was supposed to go before, they did stuff that didn't fruit. If everything was supposed to go smoothly, then nobody would do wrong. There has to be evil on earth. People have to be accounted for what happened, no matter if they want to put people as slaves, they want to be pedophiles, want to be murderers, killers, whatever they want to be. They have to do things to have the judgment of God on them or to be forgiven for the things that they have did. So God allows all types of sin. If there wasn't no sin, there wouldn't be no death. People die, according to the Bible, because of sin. So therefore, everybody is going to die, which lets you know that everybody has some kind of amount of sin. So he allows all types of things. No matter what harsh, if you could think of the harshest detail you could ever think that's just the most horrible thing ever, God can allow it because people have to have a record, no matter what it is. Or God would be unjust in judging it.
I got you. And so with that being said, then why did God and let me make sure I word this the way I want to. Is it fair to say, because you said he's not under obligation to insinuate himself in the middle?
He can do what he wants to. Yeah, he can do what he wants. Yeah, he can do what he wants.
So is it fair to say he do what he wants? So is it fair to say, because we've seen him, according to the narrative, insinuate himself in the middle of it?
Right.
Is it fair to say he cared more about the people, meaning the Israelites, who he insinuated himself in their situation? Is it fair to say he cared more about them than he did our ancestors, who he allowed to go into slavery? Or
I would.
Meaning, because we seen him intervene himself or through a prophet for these people over and over again, according to the narrative. Yet, and this is just for me personally, I don't know what your
I got you.
what your outlook is for our ancestors' experience with slavery, but to me, they liberated themselves. Had they not fought in Lincoln War, had they not had a spirit that was unbreakable, they wouldn't have never got free. And so my point being, God didn't come down and part a Red Sea. He didn't send manna from heaven. He didn't do nothing. He didn't do none of those things he did in the book of Exodus.
Right.
Confederate Army or to the Confederate States to get our people free. When them water hoses was hitting our people in the South, I didn't see them split and start hitting them officers who was aiming them water hoses at them. So my point being, is it fair to say he cared more about the Israelites than he did our people, considering he did personally intervene? Because like you said, he did what he wanted to do. He did personally intervene.
I'm waiting to answer. I got you.
And he didn't personally intervene for us. Go ahead.
Right. Okay. Okay. Now, when we look at it from that narrative, yeah. The Israelites were enslaved multiple times. Well, there wasn't no splitting of the Red Seas and parties of all that. They were enslaved for a longer amount of years if we add all of them up. by a
That
handful.
was after a lot of disobedience, though, right?
I know, right. I know.
Okay. I just want to.
Yeah, I got you. I'm just giving a narrative of, even though you're right, it was disobedience. They sent them slaves, pretty much sent themselves into slavery for disobeying what God had. I got you. But what I'm saying is, they went into slavery several times where they did the same thing that we did to get out of slavery, where they uplifted themselves, where they didn't have to part no Red Seas, where they had to get inside the political fight. Let's just say, like, I'm just gonna use Dr. King for an example since everybody know him. Dr. King was the Moses going to the Pharaoh saying, "Let my people go." You got to let my people go, man. And if you look at America compared to the Israelites and what God did for them, God let us go into slavery in America. We got out and we ain't in slavery no more. And I'm not talking about the economic slavery and Willie Lynch and stuff like that. I'm talking about picking cotton, being told what to do, when to do, where you can go and where you can't slavery. We're not in slavery no more at all. The Israelites went back and forward in slavery. So God, if we want to look at it in that manner, I don't want to give total credit to the people who are just famous, man, because I feel like the people who are not famous deserve a lot of credit. But if I can just use the people who are famous that we do know about, the majority of them, not all, but the majority, and I would give 90 to 10, if I could, 95 to 5. The majority of slaves that we do know who rebelled and ran away and did all that, the Christians, man. They believed in the Bible. They believed in God. They said that God told them to run away. They did have that Moses experience. When we look at Harriet Tubman, she said God told her to run away. When we look at Nat Turner, you know what Nat Turner did? Nat Turner put together a mob of Christian black men. They escaped from their plantations and they went around to different plantations and they killed white slave masters. They killed somewhere around 60 white slave owners, bro. And they said that God told them to do it. They did it with the Bible, bro. So they did have their experience of God telling them that, hey, y'all shouldn't be up here, man. Y'all need to be let go. Y'all should be set free. And now they felt those things outside of the scriptures. Even though we do have scriptures telling you that you can run away and you shouldn't go back, they said that they personally got a revelation from God. Now, me personally, I've never heard an audible voice of God or no voice saying, go, let me see, like all that. I get my revelation through the Bible. You know, I get some situations and stuff like that on, you know, if I'm talking to God, having a conversation with him, and certain stuff will pop up in my life where I'm like, okay, I remember I asked God about that, or I remember I told God about that, or I read some things in the Bible that answer my question and stuff like that. I've never heard an audible voice from God. So when we look at these slaves, just like Moses said he didn't see God. You know, he started burning bush and all this other stuff, but he just heard God. We have testimonies of slaves, predominantly famous slaves, who said they heard the same thing, man. God told them that they got to get up out of there, man.
You think God told Nat Turner to kill those slaves?
Honestly, bro. Honestly, even today, I was talking to.
Just asking your personal opinion.
No. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Don't God say forgive 70 times 7? Do you actually?
Yeah. God say God say forgive your brother 77 times 7. God also says that there's
ain't we all brothers though?
But that was specifically talking about brother in the scriptures, bro. It wasn't talking about everybody. I'm just being honest. That was the context. I'm just being honest.
In all seriousness, though, but do you feel like Nat Turner did hear from?
No. That's what I can answer for you. That's what I can answer for you. I can answer for you. Honestly, man, I was just talking to a brother the other day, and I was asking. He was saying that he's a prophet, and that he heard from God. And I had asked him, like, bro, how do you hear from God? Is it an audible voice, or is it, you know, blah 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 blah? He was like, yeah, man, I heard an audible voice, and he be telling me this and telling me that. So I started questioning him a little deeper. And then at the end of the conversation, he turned around and was like, well, you know, man, it'd be like my mom and them be telling me stuff like that. So me personally, I don't believe in no audible voices of God and stuff like that. And I'm not going to speak for another person, man, but I don't believe God told nobody to go do. I'm talking about in today's sense, you know, how you get in the pulpit and people be like, well, God told me to tell you it's your season. And God, I don't believe in none of that. I can't totally doubt that it happened, but I personally don't believe in it. So Nat Turner them and what they went to go do and killing those 60-something slave owners, man, I don't believe he heard a voice, man, but his own testimony is more valid than my testimony than my opinion on what he heard. You see what I'm saying? Because the Bible does say there's a time for everything under the sun. There's a time for war. There's a time to chill. There's a time to kill. There's a time. It tells you that, bro. So I can't really, man, like I said, I don't believe God told him that, but I can't really rule out the fact that God told him, hey, it's time for y'all to get y'all stuff up out of here, man. You see what I'm saying? Because the Bible do say it's time for everything, man. And who's to know that if that was that time, according to God, that it was their time to do that, because we don't know everything about God, bro. I can't tell you why God did every single thing. Some things the Bible just doesn't say. It doesn't touch on, it doesn't teach on. And for anybody who say they believe the Bible and they try to put stuff in the gap where God don't speak on it, they giving you your opinion if they believe it or not, bro. Because it ain't true. They can't back it up with scripture, bro. So I'm not gonna be one of them Christians who sit up here and make it like, oh, I know everything God was thinking and why he did it. You know what I'm saying? But I can give scriptural references for why I believe the way I believe in certain situations, as in the situation that you're asking me about with Nat Turner.
I got one more question for you, and then I'm going to close out because I got to actually get up and go to work in the morning. But,
okay. And I'm still working on them slides I'm going to send you too, man. I'm getting them in order for you, push them out in order.
And then do me a favor too, with regards to that. If you can, kind of make notes on the order you want me to do them as you're doing your presentation, because I know you'll be at work, you may not be able to see them, but just kind of let me know which ones you want to go first, except, or if they already in order, let me know. Just kind of give me a little overview of how you want me to do them, or what the cue will be for me to move to the next one, or however you want to do it like that.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I'm gonna try to put them in order, because you asked me like a 3 first questions. So the first like three or four of them will be on the first question, and then I'll send the second one on the second question. I ain't gonna send that many of them. It'll only be like 1 or 2 slides per question. I ain't really, what I'm saying, perfectly that way. So
check confirm that he actually gonna have them. That way, we'll know for sure if we need them. I never did get to confirm with him.
Okay, you let me know, because I'm already preparing my speech.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the other question you want to ask?
Best to be prepared. So, but my last question is, what do you feel, or what are your feelings on the Trinity with regards to God being three, or I don't even know how to.
No, I know what you mean. I can answer for you. I got you.
Yeah,
I look at the Trinity. God is, it's like the government, bro. We have the legislative branch, we have the judicial branch, and then we have the executive branch. We don't call them the government. We call them the government. Even though there are 3 individual branches, they make up the government. So we have the Father, who is not the Son. We have the Son, who is not the Father. And we have the Holy Spirit. And they all make up the Godhead of God. So there are some people who teach that Jesus is the Father, the Holy Spirit is God, and things like this, but then they would have to rule out John 1:1, where it says, in the beginning, the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word became flesh. Yeah, we know that Jesus is the only one that became flesh. And it also says that the Word was with God and was God. So they let you know there's 2 distinct beings right there. You see what I'm saying? So anybody who, and then there are some people who don't believe that Jesus is God at all, but then again, they would have to just negate the whole chapter of John 1:1. So yeah, it's kind of like the government system, man. Jesus is not the Father, the Son is not the Father, the Holy Spirit is not the Father or the Son. They're all 3 individuals who work under the one God, the Godhead as one. If that makes sense to you. Gotcha. That's the way the Bible is now. That's not what I think. That's not what I believe. That's the way the Bible explains it. But at the same time, the Bible also says that it's a mystery, and that there are some things that we won't know until we get to heaven. So some things we just don't know. You know what I'm saying? I
see why you say you kind of go at it with other Christians, though. I do see why you.
Oh yeah.
You say that.
Oh yeah. So that's how I got into Christian apologetics. I started out debating Black Hebrew Israelites. And
Okay.
then that led to the Church of Mormon, Jehovah's Witnesses, and then we got different denominations like Methodist, Baptist. Like for example, we all believe we all have a core belief. Jesus is the Savior. He's the one who died for our sins. We all unified in that. So we all have a core belief. Now we have different denominations. Like for example, you have people who believe that you got to get baptized or you're not in that, which would be Baptist. Then you have people who believe that you got to speak in tongues or you're not really in it, which would be the Pentecostal. And then you have people, you know what I'm saying, who believe that you got to keep the Sabbath, you know, and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So I started out debating all. That's why I'm non-denominational. I can go to whichever denominational church and feel comfortable. My church is non-denominational. But when you start putting things on salvation that's not inside the text, that's where I have my conflict with other denominations and people who believe in those other belief systems of the Bible, which are just not in the text. So those are my first attacks. You know what I'm saying? Before I can deal with anybody outside the Bible, I got to deal with the inside, because the Bible does teach us to deal with the inside first. You know, a lot of that stuff that we're looking for inside the Black community, for us to deal with our own and then spread abroad, or, you know, put your money together and give to your brother and make sure everybody's eating. And a lot of those principles are inside the Bible. So even if a person is not Black or not, of course, Black people are my brothers, if we're looking at it from the flesh skin tone. But in the overall skin tone of the world, other Christians, no matter what skin color they are my brothers too. So I should be able to correct them before I even go out into the world and try to correct other people who don't believe in the text at all.
Gotcha. And if you know any moderate Hebrew Israelites that's looking to come in open to for discussion and debate, presentations, etc., let them know I'm looking, man, to add them to the roster.
Yeah, we've been to build, man. I've been
situation, but I'm open to dialogue with a more moderate.
No, we've been to build, man. I've been thinking about your channel and my channel since the first time we talked, man. And I know you're trying to grow your channel. I started my channel years ago. I just ain't been doing it, or whatever. But yeah, man, we really get the vibe, man. Like it's enough for the Sarnettas, man. It's enough for the pseudo. I mean, I'm not hating on him. I'm cool with what he's doing, bringing stuff and all that.
I was listening to
but
him
it's enough for the
time then, but it's time for us to do our own thing.
Yeah, man, and because it's time for honest people like you, bro. Like, it's time for people who can believe. Okay, let me ask you this real quick. Do you believe Jesus existed as a person? Not that the Bible, everything he did in the Bible was true. Do you believe the person Jesus Christ existed?
To be honest, I'm more of a Gnostic view. And,
okay. Well, at least it's honest.
The reason I say that is if you tell me he didn't exist, prove it.
Right.
If you tell me he did,
prove it. Right. Yeah. Okay, I can accept that
because I could see credibility from both arguments, but at the same time, this is where the my old like Christian sort of not I don't want to say apologetics, but that sort of mentality come in.
Mm-hmm.
The evidence of like they literally changed how time was recorded based
that's
on
powerful though, bro. Hold up, bro, but don't you think that's powerful, bro?
Like that right there, I'm like,
that's powerful, man.
You understand what I'm saying? So
I know, bro. What other being in history, if they made up or whatever, we've had all kind of made up guys by history. What other being had the power to change time, bro? If that's not evidence, bro.
Went from BC to AD.
If that ain't, come on, man.
Didn't exist.
Come on, man. If that ain't evidence,
we gotta have a conversation about that.
A conversation. Bro, I love you already, bro. I mean, I will love you regardless, bro, but I love you already. And that's why I'm like, even I don't even know you like that. I just know a little bit about you. I can already tell that we gonna vibe, bro. And that's what I'm saying about your channel growing too, because it's not about being biased, bro. And we meet these other people who are biased and they pseudo. And I like your answer that you gave. Yeah, you are agnostic. That's better than the people who sitting out here just, bro, they just confirm Jesus never exists. But when you go look up every scholar, forget the shoot, I'm talking about scholars, every credible scholar in existence, whether atheist or not. We have people like Boyd Ehrman who don't believe in no God. He don't believe in no God, bro. He's a scholar in the New Testament, bro. PhD. He tell all atheists, don't use that argument that Jesus never exists because the evidence don't back it up. And people will be surprised. People will be surprised. Now, he's just the most famous one. People will be surprised how many Buddhists and Muslims, well, you already know Muslims, bro, they'll be surprised how many people believe in other ancient systems who have integrated Jesus into their belief system, bro. I mean, into their belief system because it's true.
Who say Jesus was
tripping, bro.
Was one of Buddha's past lives.
Say it again.
I heard I got a Buddhist brother who say Jesus was one of Buddha's past lives.
Yeah. Buddhism teaches that. I don't know a lot about they call it the 12 major religions. I'm on top of the top 5, though, bro. I studied the top 5 religions, which is Catholicism, well, of course, Christianity first. You got Catholicism, you got Islam, you got Buddhism, you got Hinduism. I studied those precisely, bro. And like you said, outside of Islam and Catholicism, those other religions was here before Christianity, bro. And those people have integrated Jesus into their belief system because they can't deny that he existed, bro. You just can't deny it, bro. It's a fact. Now, if you want to believe in Jesus or not, that's a totally separate thing. You ain't got to believe in. Now, watch this. I'll give you this. Scholars believe he exists. Now, what they debate over is, was he the same figure, doing all the mythical stuff that he did in the Bible? That's what they debate over. That's the debate. There is no debate if he exists.
Is because even like Richard Carrier, one of my favorite scholars, and he said that the probability is low, but he don't say that it's improbable. And so him and Ehrman are at odds, but Ehrman won't debate it. And so like when I say I'm into history, I'm into scholarship, I'm into philosophy. That's my.
Me too. I love it, bro. I love it.
So yeah, I'm hoping that they go ahead and debate, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
I don't think so. But I watch so many debates, bro. My family tell you I get on their nerves. I don't even watch regular TV outside of wrestling. I don't do nothing but watch. I just saw almost everything on your channel already, besides the new stuff that you just posted like in the last couple of days. I watch every debate. I'm talking about white on white, black on black. I'm subscribed to Modern Day TV, the Lions Den, the Down for You. So bro. I've been on this stuff since like 2006, bro. Like I love it, bro. And my grandma.
Scholar Fiction.
Huh?
You watch Scholar Fiction?
Scholar Fiction. I watched the Duncan. I watched the what's his name? Matt Dillahunty. I watch Iron Ra. I like to listen to all what they say.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? T-Jump, Ken Hovind. Bro, this is the stuff I do daily. If I'm not watching wrestling, bro, I'm somewhere studying or watching some kind of debate. I don't watch TV.
Check out Myth Vision too. So yeah.
Say it again.
I say if you haven't already checked them out, check out Myth Vision.
Myth Vision.
Myth Vision.
Oh, Myth Vision. Okay. Myth Vision.
Yeah.
Okay.
We two sides of the same coin. So
yeah, I love it, man. I think I had already told you before. My grandmother was one of the first high school history teachers down here in Texas. Before I was born, of course, they moved from Cleveland, Ohio, down here to Texas and stuff. So yeah, I've been in love with it. I knew about Egypt when I was learning about Egypt when I was 4, bro, and it wasn't no animosity. But my grandmama, she was a part of the Black Panther Party and all that, bro. She was Freemason and all that. So she used to teach me that, like, you know how, like, when you watch back then on TV, when you watch stuff like Ten Commandments or Egypt or something like that, everybody was white, bro. Everybody was just white. So when people like Malcolm X, and Malcolm X got a speech of this on YouTube Live. Malcolm X was like, I went to Africa and I started looking at all these tombs and I'm saying they got big noses and foreheads and ears and eyes. I'm looking like these are my people, and it made me start going ham. So my grandmama used to tell me that. That's when it just became a boom in that community. Like, hey man, we are more than just slaves. We are more than just what they say we are. You see what I'm saying? And she was like, it was such an explosion. But see, coming from my era, I never thought that Egypt was white. You see what I'm saying? anytime I heard the word Africa, I automatically thought black. It flipped my mind to find out that there were actually white people in Africa. It flipped my mind. You see what I'm saying?
Was white. I never, because I'm like, if even according to the narrative, if he was raised in Pharaoh's house, if he was able to blend in to Pharaoh's house, he couldn't have been white. So,
right.
But
right,
yeah.
And if we follow the historical timeline, we know that Alexander the Great didn't conquer Egypt until 400 years before Jesus, and we know that then we know that the Persian had Egypt before Alexander the Great. So by the time Moses was in Egypt, like you said, it would have been black, bro. Now Jesus, I believe he's like an Arab, close to black than white. But I'm gonna have to be honest. By the time Jesus came on the scene, Alexander the Great had already conquered it. Ptolemy the First had already had it. So Egypt was looking like downtown New York, bro. So we really can't say, you know what I'm saying? So we can't say Egypt was black or white. You know what I'm saying? So people just be tripping, bro. People be tripping, man.
By the time Augustus or Octavian became emperor and changed his name to Augustus, the Ptolemies had been in power, I want to say, 700 years?
Like 700 some years, bro. And that's what makes me kill. Bro, that's what made me kill the Black Hebrew Israelites, bro. I wish some of my debates were recorded. I be killing them dudes, bro, because it's like I ain't saying that there are no.
Cleopatra is not a Kemetic name. That's a Greek, Mesopotamian name. That's not a Kemetic name.
But it's also a name. It's also a name that what's her name? That the white lady, she adopted that name too. That ain't even her original name too, though. At the same time, she adopted that name. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
I can talk to you all night, man. But
all night.
Let the people know where they can find you on social media, YouTube, and all of that.
Oh man, y'all can find me on social media at pretty much nowhere, but you can find me on YouTube at Trust and Believe the Gospel. You can inbox me at close but no wire on the email at the Gmail, close but no wire at gmail.com. And like I say, I'm still building my channel and things like that. I've been on it years ago, but I'm just not starting back up and doing it. So anybody that want to reach out to me, you can get in touch with me through my brother. Let me not mess this up again. I'm gonna mess it up, bro. You already know. I'm like,
it's all good, bro. You'll get used to it. You'll get used to it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm trying to get used to it. I'm trying to get used to it. But y'all can get in contact with him. He can get in contact with me and things like that or whatever. So yeah, man, I'm down to talk to anybody, debate anybody on whatever topic that. If it's I pose or agree on my side or vice versa, just hit me up, man. It's time for us who got the truth and who not out here lying and trying to deceive these people who actually want to know the truth or actually have the truth. It's time for us to go and stand up and kick all these pseudos out of our community, man, and keep it 100 with our people, man, no matter what spiritual belief you decide to follow. I'm all about it.
For sure. So yeah, this has been another episode of Paradigm Shift TV 314. I'm your brother, Pianki Patah Matulu, Neferamon Ra. This been our brother, Trust and Believe the Gospel. And we just had a nice little open discussion talking about a myriad of topics. And we're going to chop it up again soon. Brother, I appreciate you coming on. And
I appreciate you, man.
All right, brother, that's peace.
All right, peace, bro.
Peace.